Okay. All
All
right,
right.
recording in progress, y'all. All right, on blockchain reparations. What I like to tell people about that is that this gives us a chance to break our own chains. Why? Because instead of putting us in the position of begging, begging, and waiting, waiting, now this gives us a chance to use a currency other than euros or dollars in order to leverage our effectiveness for reparations. Right now, when we say we're demanding reparations, Black people think a demand is when we talk loudly. That's not a demand. Oh, it's not recording. Let me try this again. Start recording. Good Lord.
All
Three,
right.
2, 1. Okay. Now we are actually recording. So, blockchain reparations, breaking our chains with blockchain. All right. In this particular presentation that is being recorded, then what we're talking about is that we can use this opportunity to transfer wealth to ourselves by leveraging our position with cryptocurrency. How do you do that? Some Black people are saying crypto is down. So how do you make that? How do you make that leverage? Well, we've already had broken promises of reparations. Broken promises. This will give us a blockchain reparation, gives us a chance to build in our own justice. We decide what justice for us is instead of somebody else deciding what they're going to give us. And what they're going to give us is crumbs. So it gives us a chance. Well, hello, Dorothy and Betty Harrison and Atomic Rice Cook. All right, welcome, welcome, welcome as we're talking about blockchain reparations. So we know that the wealth gaps in this society are not accidental. They are actually engineered just through policy alone. So we have to use a similar type of structural engineering just to repair the systems that are in place. And we can begin that on a blockchain and use our self determination to continue doing that. All right, next slide. All right. I like to tell people it's not about blame, it's about accounting. Land ownership built generational wealth. Black families were systematically excluded from that opportunity. So in 1862, there was the Homestead Act that gave 160 acres to European settlers. They got 160 acres. At the same time that Lincoln signed that Homestead Act, Black people negotiated 40 acres for ourselves. So you could be an immigrant coming from Europe, getting off the boat. Don't even speak English. You speak Italian or French, but you get 160 acres. And while I'm teaching you English, I'm asking just for 1/4 of what a white person gets, and then they take that 1/4 away from us and renege on reparations. So, the Constitution, let's bring this up. When we settled for 1/4, this shows that we didn't know how to read and we didn't know math, most of us, because the Constitution counted enslaved Africans as 3/5 human. Well, even a person 3/5 human out of 160 acres that were given to other European humans, at 3/5 human, we should have gotten 96 acres. Instead, Lincoln promised blacks 40 acres and a mule. And then, after Republican President Lincoln was unalived, because I have to remember it's TikTok, I have to say unalived, then Democratic President Andrew Johnson reneged on blacks' promised land of 40 acres and the mule. Effectively, because the Democratic Party is represented by a donkey, then all we got was the donkey, not even a mule. Now, white wealth was built on access being denied to Black families. And that's one thing we have to admit in America, that what if Blacks are the chosen people, and what is the karma for denying the true chosen people their promised land? At a time when you have some people using the Bible to justify what's going on in Palestine, or even for what's going on with Iran. There's like Nile to Euphrates. I'm like, did y'all ever look at a map? Iran is even east of the Euphrates River. So it ain't Nile to Euphrates, but if you give Nile to Euphrates to the to Israel, then you're giving them Egypt, Ethiopia, Sudan, Congo. You get my drift. So that is part of the problem if you're looking at everything from a biblical level and saying, well, Black people are cursed because we are the children of Ham. No, all of Noah's children were Black, except for the albino. Read the books of Enoch. If you're gonna be about it, do it. But otherwise, don't use that. Instead, you could use something that is not based on religion and scripture, and a book that is misinterpreted and lied in order to fit the wicked. You could use something else, and you could use international law and precedent. So the precedents are that indigenous people were able to make a casino on their land, and with that casino on their land, pay other members of their nation, sometimes people call it tribe, pay other members of their nation or tribe continuous payment reparations, so that in Michigan, where we have some indigenous people who have some casinos, we know that they are receiving reparations from the economic development provided by these casinos. And this gives them continuous reparations and not a one-time payment. That's not based on scripture. That's based upon that casino is on their land and they say, this is what we're going to do, and we did it. That's them. So Dorothy is right. When you got land and you are the sovereign on your land, you can set that. And now you've set your people up. Black people have to learn how to do that digitally. Since we were brought here, there's going to be some, no, we weren't brought here. We were already here and our land was taken away. Whichever way you say, if you are landless, then you need something else. And the blockchain reparations gives us a something else for people who don't have land. All right. It gives us a chance for, some people like the idea of crossing the Red Sea when oppression traps people in systems of poverty. Then waiting for approval by that very system that entrapped them leads to nowhere. That's expecting, when you keep doing the same thing the same way, that you're going to get different results. And Black people have gotten tired of falling for that trick. We know we're not insane. And some of us aren't even stupid. So we're waking up to that. And change happens when new paths are built. If you see yourself in a loop, then you can get out of that loop, usually by going through it. And that's where I use the whole idea of pi. And we're coming onto Pi Day. For those of you who know what pi is, let's talk about what pi is. Pi is, let me go into the next slide so you all can see it, so it's not just me drawing circles. But before we get to pi, let's start with what is a blockchain, because y'all are going to be, pi, that comes from ninth grade math. I barely remember fifth grade math. So let's start with something simpler. What is a blockchain? A blockchain is a public digital record book. It's public and it's digital. Everyone can verify transactions. So ain't no secrets going on over here, and no centralized authority can rewrite history. In that way, rules are enforced by code. Now, if you write a code that says X plus Y equals Z, then it's going to be true. It's going to be true because of the algorithm and not because somebody went in there and rigged it. And not only is it true because of the algorithm, each one of us will be verifying it. And how do we verify? That's a lot of transactions. Let me show you what I'm talking about. All right. That's telling you what is a blockchain. Now, what is a DAO? DAO is not just the song that oh gosh, I see his face. Harry Belafonte sang shoots years ago. DAO is a decentralized autonomous organization. A decentralized autonomous A organization. DAO. Oh. And so what that is, when it's also online to a certain extent. I mean, DAOs meet, people actually get together. But when we're talking about doing transactions, especially reparations transactions, a DAO allows it to be a community-led governance. What do I mean? For a brief moment, I served on the Detroit Reparations Task Force. The task force was designed to be where Detroit City Council members nominated a person from their district, or for the two people who were at large, somebody who lived anywhere in the city of Detroit. And then they nominated those people, and then the city council voted, and all together, and those people became the Detroit Reparations Task Force. What I mean by community-led governance is that instead of there being representatives, the community itself can vote directly on this. See the difference? Do you see the difference in democratic power? Because it took a city council member like Coleman Young's son to nominate me. But I'm also one out of I think there were a total of 13 people. And if the other 12 are straight up just going to do what the Democrats say to do, I didn't even need to be there. They had decided they were going to do the Evanston plan before it was even written, before they had already decided it. So I resigned. I have a new idea. Y'all don't want to listen to it. Why? I'm volunteering. So why waste my time? Y'all ain't gonna do it. And they didn't. They blackballed it. But that's what I mean by there's a difference between a community led, because when the community could see the difference between a one-time payment or continuous payments, what would the community choose versus what the government is telling them they're gonna do? That's the difference between a DAO. It becomes shared decision making, not top-down dictatorship, and the funds are distributed by transparent rules. This is where some of the discussion has come in about whether there should be special privileges for foundational Black Americans. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. They're like, well, then we want to completely exclude Africans and people from the Caribbean. And I'm like, okay, so you're saying you want Marcus Garvey to not receive reparations because he was born in Jamaica and he was enslaved by the British instead of by the Americans? That's what you're saying?
Yep.
And you're okay with that? You're okay with what was the name of the man who was killed in New York? Nobody asked him what country from Africa he was from, But they just shot him dead because they thought his keys were a gun because they were shiny.
Ahmaud Arbery.
There you go. Nobody asked him what country he was from, and oh, he shouldn't get reparations because he immigrated to here from Africa. And so, since he chose to be here, then he chose to get shot by the police. Make that make sense. But I'm saying you can build into a smart contract rules where who would be paid first or how much. It doesn't have to be a all or nothing. It could be you get this, you get priority, you get this first. They don't get nothing, but this is how much they get. In law, it's called comparative negligence. In this particular case, it could be called comparative distribution.
All right.
So black people don't have to, we don't have to keep trying to divide because we're not fighting among ourselves for crumbs. We gotta stop looking at it from a position of lack and looking at ourselves from a position of abundance. Go ahead, Lumumba. Go
That,
ahead.
Oh yes, thank you. I wanted to ask, I know we're talking about the U.S. government currently, but with that in mind, based on finances or resources, so on and so forth, how can we also place that same pressure on, say, like a Great Britain, to have those additional funds coming in, to support those who were colonized by the Brits, those who are colonized by the Swedes or so on and so
Yes, yes, absolutely. And that's why Black people have enormous power to affect reparations, not just in the United States, but worldwide. When we stop looking at ourselves as I'm getting my reparations from the US and they're getting theirs from Brazil and they're getting theirs from Britain and they're getting theirs from if we stop looking at it that way and say there's 54, 55 nations in the African Union,
mhm.
then we have a diaspora that consists of North America, South America, Central America. And then there, and add to that diaspora what I call the next rank of people who decided instead of coming to, or people who decided, or it was decided for them to come to the Americas. Some people were dropped off in Portugal and Spain. You know that, right? And they still there. Some black people are still there in other parts of the world. There's black people in Israel. What do they get? And just because you're still in the motherland and you were colonized instead at colonized and sometimes even enslaved on your own homeland because they didn't
Mhm.
send you anywhere, they just enslaved you there. You get nothing? Come on, black people. We now put ourselves in the position when we bargain together. Think of ourselves like a union. If you don't want to think of yourself as a nation, think of yourself as a union and think of what the UAW did when they decided we're going to strike all three at the same time. I bet you this is Empress Chi. All right, welcome, Empress. And TikTok, we are doing a presentation on blockchain reparations. So please, I have the camera pointed at my computer, but I can't sit in front of the computer at the same time I'm sitting in front of the camera. All right. So I'm trying to explain to TikTok. How you doing, Empress?
I'm good, my sister. I've been trying to get in for the past hour.
I believe you. COINTELPRO is real. What we're
Wow,
talking about
unbelievable. Go
unbelievable.
ahead.
I'm going to teach
Yep.
you all how to make your wallet, and then what we're going to do. You, me, Dorothy, and Lumumba. Y'all will send me your wallet address, and now three people from the Million Woman March are going to be on the Reparations DAO Treasury Council. Can y'all
All
do that?
right.
forth.
All right.
Absolutely.
Okay. And since a decision takes 3 out of 4, most of us are going to agree, and we can make the council even bigger than that. Like I was telling Dorothy, I have invited Her Excellency Africana, and I'm trying not to mess this up. Chiombori Kwe or Quail. I'm sure I've just messed that up, but I invited Her Excellency, the ambassador from the African Union to the United States. I invited her, but I know she just returned from Burkina Faso either yesterday or today. So if she doesn't make it, I said, here's my number. Just call me. I know you might be tired. And traveling, she's probably resting a little bit from that trip. But if she doesn't make it, this is one of the people we're trying to put on the Treasury Council for a global DAO. Can you imagine? And this is just recuperating on some other or re-saying some other things because you're now here, Empress, and then we're going to explain what a DAO is again, and what blockchain does. But what the African Union has just declared is that 2026 to 2036 is the International Decade of Reparations. And so I was telling Dorothy that when I used to think, oh no, we're 4 years late, this young man came to Reparations Awareness Day in Detroit and explained about blockchain reparations. I didn't know that we had a Bitcoin millionaire in our presence. Didn't know it. I find that out about when I read about him later. So he made a fortune in Bitcoin, and he's telling us how to use blockchain to get reparations. And he told us this 4 years ago. And it finally clicked last year. But it's clicking at the same time that the African Union is clicking. And that's why this is right now timely. Okay, Empress, we're on time. We would have been early. Now we're on time, and the African Union might be ready to listen to us.
I know that's right.
Girl, and that means we're in a moment. Some people would say it's a long time coming, but it took this 25, 30 years. When Empress said the march would have been 30 years ago next year. Is that right?
Yep. We're doing the reunion next year. It'll be MWM 30. Absolutely.
Here's
we
my
had
question. Where did all that time go?
I know, but you know what, Sister Anita? As I now look at it, we're like fine wine. You had to go through this process. You had to get to the point of really being ripened, and we are now.
We're there. And what I like about it, we have a younger generation like Lumumba Uncaged. When I'm saying some of this and I'm making sure I'm right, and he's like, oh, yeah, you on it. I'm like, these young people, because the young man that made this presentation, his name was Nate Talbot. He's like in his 40s, maybe not even 50 yet. And talking about being a Bitcoin millionaire, living right here in Detroit. And telling us 4 years ago how to do this, but now people are ready to listen. And we have seen that transformation in 4 years when usually that takes 4 decades. So things are moving rather fast. Rather fast. So I will explain one more time. Welcome on TikTok. Thank you, Johnny Candy. Thank you for being here. And oh, wow, thank you for the love and the likes. Keep it up. Keep on putting some love and like in there. All right, let me tell you what a DAO is one more time so that y'all understand. It's not just a song. It's a decentralized autonomous organization that can be community-led, so that now democracy can come right to your fingertips, that you can vote on your reparations directly. And that's what it gives you, shared decision making. So instead of being in a child's position where you just told what it is and what it's going to be, Now you have a say in what it is and what's it going to be. That's huge for Black people because we need sovereignty and self-determination. That is actually part of what needs to be repaired in us. That somebody stop just making a decision for us, but allow us to decide for ourselves.
Right.
And yes, and then last but not least, it gives us funds that can be distributed by transparent rules. And that's where you came in, Empress, where we were talking about we have to think from a position of abundance instead of lack. That lack mentality means, well, we're going to be just FBA and they get it all, and people from the Caribbean and Africa get nothing because they chose to immigrate over here, and the immigrants get more than the native born Black folks do. Now, that all of that can be true. Immigrants get more than the native born Black folks, but sometimes even the immigrant Black people get shot at by police because nobody asked them if they were from Sudan. Nobody asked them if they were from Haiti. Nobody even talked to them. They just shoot first and ask questions later. Because of that, because of that, then we have to recognize they have been wronged by the United States as well as
Okay.
have been wronged by other places that they might have come from.
So, Sister Anita, I just have a question with that. And
Okay.
that is, should there not be a coalition that is representing that? Because I find it a little problematic when we start meshing everything in together. And I'm not saying that others should not do what they need to do, but at the same time, there's something very distinct about us, our ancestors in this land that were kidnapped and stolen and brought here. That is a very distinct difference.
And that's what I mean by smart contracts create a hierarchy, if you will, where it doesn't have to be all or nothing, because what we're still doing on a global level is leveraging who we are together. In less than 100 years, people of African descent throughout the earth will be the largest single ethnic group on earth. That we are reproducing at such a fast rate that right now the youngest people are in Africa, meaning that the American population is older and dying. I'm in that baby boom generation. And I'm one of the younger baby booms. The older baby booms are already in glory. So I'm one of the groups of people that were born after World War II. However, that group of people in the United States is a strong, powerful group of people, a majority, if you will, but that's a majority that's dying. Africa has actually absolute other problem where a majority, if you will, are under 25. And that's why that longevity and that longevity, when you start looking ahead in time, that they have more people and they will have over 1 billion people if we don't already as it is. So that gives a position of where Africa is population wise. And when we unite with them, then how we can leverage that to get reparations from the American government. Because right now the tactic has been we're waiting for them to do right by us out of the goodness of their heart.
Yep, I would still say though, and I do agree, but I think it's very, 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 very important that there is a distinction. It's just
And
like,
I
for
agree.
example, right. So I just want to make sure that that's clear because a
Oh,
lot of the
absolutely.
conversation that we're hearing is not necessarily clear, and I'm going to make sure, at least on our end, that it is. For
And
example,
I appreciate that. I
for
have
example, check this out. For example, let's say you are on, say, a street, right? and a card comes and it is distinctively designed, or they distinctively intend to hit you, right? So you're the one that's now suffering the injury, and maybe the person that was with you, a family member, actually went through death or unaliving. So okay, so this card that went to you directly, specifically with the intent for you and whoever was with you, your family member, you are then the exact intent. Now, note the word intent. Now there was some other effects that occurred because near you were some people, and after the car directly went to hit you and your family member, it then kind of swiveled a little and hit the other next to you. But that wasn't the intent. The intent was to make sure it hit you.
And
that's the kind of
under
difference I
law,
want to
that's
make
called,
sure.
yes.
Right.
And yes, under law, what you just described would be considered comparative negligence. And in this particular case, what we would call it is comparative distribution. All of that can be governed and coded by smart contracts, which is why I said this is finally the beauty that we've been looking for. What you just described, Empress, is absolutely correct. That we can describe a smart contract for reparations in the United States to prioritize foundational Black Americans. Easily, we can do that. And then the similar thing could be that those former colonies that have the former colonies of Britain would receive X. The former or people who were enslaved in the former colonies of France, Y. You get what I'm saying? So that at a global level, we would be able to institute that because it's now not dependent on just US dollars. We are now using cryptocurrency, so it's not just dependent on one currency that is backed by a government.
Got you. I got you.
All right. All right. Everybody else, how y'all doing on TikTok? Okay. All right. So here we go with the next one. TikTok probably. Okay. Here we go with the next one. When we don't need a government's permission. So this is the beauty of blockchain and cryptocurrency, because that currency is not tied to the good faith and credit of a particular government. It's not tied to that government's ability to print money and thereby create inflation, or a military run it up in your land. It's no longer dependent on that. It is now, I hate to say it, we're creating another matrix. So when we do that, you can make voluntary donations legal through cryptocurrency. I need to explain that again for some people, because you can now make it so that we can receive reparations in Ethereum or another cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, or I'm going to talk about the Pi coin in a moment. We can make it available in other currencies. And that means we're no longer tied like slaves to the US dollar. And that allows other people or other governments or other corporations, families, and entities to make donations, and those donations can be voluntary and anonymous. The beauty or fear is anonymous, because an anonymous donation towards reparations can come from China. Why would China pay Blacks reparations?
They should.
Well, some people would say they should. Here, an anonymous donation could come from Russia. And why would they pay reparations when when Russia never enslaved a single black person? And why would they do it? Because they know America and Europe won't. And that would cause black people to feel a kind of way, saying, you want us to go to war to fight for Ukraine against Russia when Russia paid us more reparations than you. Make that make sense. Why should we do that?
And Sister Anita, if I may add, I think another angle or another way to look at this would be that other countries may be wanting to do something of goodwill and also want to do something that is more ethical and moral. And in doing their kinds of contributions, etc., that would indicate that. So not necessarily paying reparations per se, but again, in the context of alliance, in the context of solidarity, in the context of morality, in the context of human rights, in such a way, recognizing that our human rights have been violated. Therefore, these countries are showing their support. So again, it doesn't have to be reparations per se.
Yes, you're right. And forgive me, I got people still calling me. It's like they know I'm in a meeting, so why are you calling me? And this is when we must be making progress because there are people who are trying to interrupt. And they may be trying to tell me I can't get into the meeting. And I don't know. Right now I can't solve all of those problems and be on camera and do this presentation at the same time. But yes, what you're saying is absolutely correct.
Or if I could
So
add
that
two things real quick.
yes, please.
Well, one is, that would fall under the branch of reparatory justice. So, we could put it under that umbrella, right? And also, the meeting is being recorded, so you can, have people rest assured that they can still get the information. That's the beauty of having it recorded. With that, I yield.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you, Lumumba. Yes, and what I will do because it's being recorded, and we got TikTok. Hello, Lily, and I'm sure I can't pronounce that name, but hello, DAE. Welcome to the presentation on blockchain reparations. So when you don't need a government's permission, you have what Empress just described, where some nations are going to do things out of goodwill. Here's where it gets to be even more better. When you have asset backed cryptocurrency, which is being developed right now, you have nations in Africa who could choose to use their gold, platinum, other precious metals, their resources, and decide we're going to donate a certain amount to back cryptocurrency for reparations for those of our brothers and sisters that were sold. We sold them to slavery in the diaspora. They could do that. They could do an asset backed cryptocurrency. That's where we become dangerous. Because now, where are you getting gold from? We got it from Burkina Faso, and we're backing our own cryptocurrency. So we don't have to use Ethereum. We can make our own. And that's the future that we're heading to.
you. I say.
That's how Black unity can be abundance instead of we just dividing these $40,000 worth of crumbs based upon and we got to be it's based upon your job, your credit score, and everything, all of that kind of stuff, so that the middle class will still wind up with a home and the underclass will still be under the bridge. And there's more blacks in the underclass. All of us are like one paycheck away from being under the bridge or in a tent with the homeless. So if we don't want that, we can stop asking for a government's permission and start getting a government's attention with our own DAO. So it functions like a nonprofit or a mutual aid fund. That's what a DAO is. It functions like that. It it's a transparency that protects integrity. So everybody gets to see get all the transactions are going to be. So it was not FBAs, but it's now, if you imagine we're all voting on this, then that's a type of vote that within the United States, we're keeping in mind that it's a global reparations because it's all of us together. And we're making the priorities accordingly. We're doing that type of compromising and negotiation internally. We don't have to leave that open to interpretation or misinterpretation or any kind of interference by anybody who don't look like us. You got something to say about this, but you got nothing to say in this. You got no say in this. You can have all the say you want outside of this, but you got no say in this. And that's the beauty of a DAO. We can restrict it like that. They might already be restricting us out of various things, but this allows us to have a community-led justice that we are leading and advocating our own justice rather than leaving it up to the goodness of other people judging for us and judging us. All right. Any questions even on TikTok? Oh, I see. All right. Hello. Okay. Um, hello. All right. Well, welcome on TikTok. Please put some like and some love in there. And we're going on to the next slide. The slide presentation is being recorded, TikTok. So want you all to know that we will be able to have you watch the presentation afterwards. All right, we're going to the next slide as soon as my computer advances. It seems to be stuck. All right, and how we doing over here? Uh-oh. Hello, everybody. Put some like and love in there. All right. Look at this, halfway through and the computer jams. All right, why blockchain reparation matters. Okay, it builds an economic sovereignty for us. It restores our dignity through participation. This is what I mean by grown up people. We grown now. I've been grown for a long time. Grown up people ought to be able to make decisions for themselves. But Black people have been placed in a position where we have been codependent on our oppressors for so long that we are not, that sometimes we grow up without growing up. That they give you Section 8, give you housing. But they're paying the landlord directly because when we played the person that kept the money and then they moved out the house or they tore up the house, blah, 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 all those excuses. But you pay somebody else for me to live in a house. And I never learned how to take care of my own self. I pay $100 for rent, let's say. Maybe $110 for rent. But we know rent in the city of Detroit is around $1,200. Never learned how to handle that. I never get the money to handle that. It's always handled for me, and that even though I'm a single mother, I'm still somebody's child. I'm not a government's child. I'm not a government's wife. I'm married to the US government or the state of Michigan or something like that because they taking care of me. They giving me food stamps, they giving me health insurance, they giving me a place to live through the HUD program. I'm like a child. I don't need my own money. They tell me before they give me the food stamps or a place to live or health insurance, they're gonna make me go work. Well, basically, you are just giving me all of the subsidies. You have subsidized my employment so that my job doesn't have to pay me enough for food. It doesn't have to pay me enough for health care, and it doesn't have to pay me enough for my housing. So you have basically relegated me to a minimum wage job, and that's what my retirement's supposed to be based on, and I'm supposed to do that for the rest of my life. That's what I mean by blockchain reparations matter. Because instead of paying other people, you can't buy diapers on food stamps. Now put the money in my hands. That's what it does. It restores our dignity through participation. It also creates real-time accountability. So you don't have some black folks sneaking the money to their friends or putting it in their own pocket. I won't tell all of what happened around here in Detroit on that reparations task force. I won't tell it all, but I resigned. Anyway, and it models a new ethical system where if you're talking about democracy, this is the real democracy right here. All right. Any questions on that one? And then we're going to go into smart contracts where we enforce fairness by design. What is a smart contract? Because it's not like the contracts that are not smart contracts or dumb contracts, but smart contracts are self-executing digital agreements where the rules are written in transparent code. Now, no, I don't know how to write code. I have a law degree, not a computer science degree. I don't know how to write code, but I know how to find people who can write code. And then when we do this in a sandbox or a pilot project or an experiment, when we do this as a pilot project experiment, whatever you want to call it, then we can find out the bugs in the code and work that out. We can work it out. So it automatically would distribute funds. It cannot be secretly altered. And then it reduces human bias and gatekeeping. So that's what let's admit why black people have been divided is that we don't trust each other. And some of the reason we don't trust each other is because some of the people who stabbed us in the backs, sold us out, sold out are people who look like us. So when yes, and so this gives us a
just
chance.
as a sidebar to give some clarity. So we're talking about not just the gatekeepers, but also, and we'll be talking more about this at another time, classism, the petty bourgeoisie, and what we now call the new, I'll say Philadelphia because that's where I'm at, but the new Philadelphia Negropean or the new Negropean period.
Yes. Yes, you have some people who they must look in the mirror and see a blonde-haired, blue-eyed person because, and even though we don't see that, maybe something wrong with our eyes, but when they look in the mirror, they are just as white as Donald Trump. And sometimes they treat black people the same way. So, yes, those are the kinds of things that we can build into our own reparations, not just the gatekeeping. Imagine right now, you and I have already flipped a script by saying, between Million Woman March and Reparations Labor Union, and we start the Global Reparations DAO Treasury Council. Other people will join in, but look at how we just flipped the script. Where is everybody else? They didn't want to do it because it wasn't Democratic Party approved. So where is NARC? Where is Reparations United? Where's the rest of NCOBRA or UNIA or RNA? Where are they?
Oh boy.
Where's NAACP, NOI? Where are they? They might join later, but especially if we get the African Union involved, now they'll be coming on the bandwagon because now you and I have taken over a area of reparations that the Democratic Party can't control. They don't control. How does the Democratic Party control the African Union? Not as easily as they control the NAACP. So that's what I mean by we bypass some of these gatekeepers who might have sold out to the Democrats. All right, next slide. Digital currency and tokens. What actually moves a blockchain system? Let's talk a little bit about digital currency. This is money that only exists electronically. In a way, we're already there. Y'all don't see your paycheck. You don't even get a paycheck anymore. We're already there. It's all digital. The money is sent instantly across the world. So that's why I tell people when you create your digital wallet, you better watch what you're doing. You know the difference between a public address and a private address, because a private address is your 12 words. Somebody call you saying, I need you to give me those 12 words so I can help you get into your account. No, they're going to take your 12 words and take everything in that account. Now, mind you, if you're starting off with $5 worth of crypto, you don't care. Yes, but you need to learn how to keep that because one day that it's not going to just be $5. So learn how to keep your private address private. If somebody called you up saying, I need your social security number, you wouldn't just give it to a total stranger. So that's the same thing with your private key. But the public address that starts with a 0x, share that. And now you see how you can make money move without having a bank involved. Because how many of us know banks have been very active in blocking Black people from getting many places over the last 160 years? So this bypasses the banks. Now, we're going to get into tokens on a blockchain because Empress asked me a question last night. I said, girl, are you ready for tokens? Here's what will happen with the Treasury Council. We're using Ethereum. What we will eventually create is a reparations token because when on the Treasury Council and we're using Ethereum for the gas fees for our decisions, then that requires buying Ethereum in order to make that decision. Other decision, we create a token, and this is what I promised you. I'd explain what a token is. We create a token that doesn't cost Ethereum, if you will, for people to be able to vote on the blockchain as long as they possess the token. And then we distribute that token to the people who were qualified under the various methods that Empress described, that there would be an FBA category or a Caribbean category or African category or even diaspora beyond America's, like you could be in China, let's say. So all of those people who could be receiving reparations under various cups, for lack of a better word, then you can make sure that money is distributed to them by their token. Okay. And it also is going to, the tokens can also represent various donations or credits or benefits, like I was just describing the benefits of who would get what based upon their DNA and history. All right. So we would be creating a reparation system where tokens could represent verified eligibility, distribution units, and voting power. That's what you can do with a smart contract that's easier to do than in person with human beings handing out little strips of paper. So the bottom line becomes that tokens are tools for coordination and not speculation. And when you understand that way of tokenism, so it's not using tokenism in the way that we're thinking of with affirmative action. This is now tokenism under blockchain. And if I've blown your mind, then watch this again, and hopefully it will make sense when you listen to it more and more. But this is describing how you could make those different cups. I don't know. I like tarot, so I think of it as cups. That you could make those different cups for the people according to their status and the country or the donation or the reparations that they are being paid from certain people in that status. Ah, let's see. We have one more person entering. Who's this? Hi. Hello. Who just entered?
Lamar.
Oh, hello. Hey, Lamar Lemons from the UNIA. I thought y'all were in a meeting too.
No, our meeting is not till 7.
Oh, bless God. All right. Well, then I might be able to join yours, but I got all these people who've been calling me that are probably going to need a call back between 5 and 7. I'm going to try and finish these last few slides so that we're being recorded right now. I can stop the recording. So please, if you have questions, feel free to ask them. But yeah, we're explaining blockchain reparations because we're starting the blockchain and putting people on the Treasury Council. So, in this particular slide, where we're talking about from surviving to the architecture of thriving, then what we're trying to help people understand that even though a decentralized, autonomous organization or a DAO can be portable, it can be portable, and cryptocurrency can be portable, so that if we have to run, especially if things go sideways with this war, if we have to run, we have crypto and not just US dollars, and we can leave if we have to and convert it to whatever currency is where we're going, or use the crypto instead. But either way, it's not that we're escaping a system, we're just building a better one. We're creating a digital underground railroad. We see we need it, and we are building it ourselves instead, and we're trying to do it before we actually need to run. Because it is digital, we don't, even though digital can move very fast, we don't want to wait until the last minute. So we're also creating an infrastructure for healing. And we are the architects of our own generational repair. So this is where we get to decide the repair for our generation and set up the architecture where our children, grandchildren, and great-grands, the future, can now set up the repair that would be necessary for their generation. It might change. It might change. We don't know, but we're setting it up so it can grow as they grow. All right, any questions on that? Okay. Now, for those people who are in the Bible, I'd like to tell them that we are in a Jubilee year. Jubilee comes from Leviticus 25, and every 50th year, Israel was commanded to enact a national reset where people who sold themselves into slavery or servitude were set free. Sometimes we sell ourselves, but I won't go into that. And the debts are forgiven. The land that had been sold away from them was returned to the original families. Economic inequality was intentionally rolled back because Leviticus 25 tells how to pay some reparations. And this wasn't charity, this was structure. So, for those people who are looking for a biblical basis, this is just one out of many. So, this is e pluribus unum. But we are in a Jubilee year because this is the 250th anniversary of the United States. And isn't 250 divided by 50? So, it's a Jubilee year. Questions on that? All right, what about on TikTok? How y'all doing? Oh, the live was discontinued. But oh my goodness. I guess I didn't move the camera and they discontinued the live. But okay. We had over 180 people through there. Okay, let's finish this up. All right. Learning blockchain through a digital sandbox, and this is where we can use the Pi network. And this is what I was talking about Pi. Um, Real mathematicians, somebody like Lamar could help me with this, but pi is going through the circle. At least that's the way I remember it. It's going through the circle. And when you go through the circle, it's always the same number, and that number begins with 3.14, which under the Pi coin, they turned into Pi Day, which is March 14th or 314. And Pi Day is coming up this week. What Pi is a digital currency that you can mine on your cell phone. So you can mine it on your cell phone. That uses up a little battery, but it winds up being a different type of mining than the kind that Bitcoin and other digital currencies require, that take up huge electrical resources and have their own little mining electric companies going on. So this is where Picoin is more energy efficient. And you can use a digital sandbox like an incubator or like a pilot project or like an experiment. What is the purpose? To help our community learn blockchain safely before building full reparations infrastructure. So this gives us a chance to tinker with it and straighten out the bugs. It's like running a demo program. We're doing a demo on reparations. So the Pi Network is a free, mobile-friendly platform where we can learn on, and it's no money required to participate. It teaches how digital wallets operate. It demonstrates what peer-to-peer value exchange looks like. Because some people, you can't do it yet in the United States, but what they're doing in other countries, including in countries in Africa, is that they're able to exchange their Pi coin in markets or with each other people who have Pi. So I started mining my Pi years ago. And even with mining my Pi years ago, I didn't do it every day. You know how y'all don't remember every day. So I don't do it every day, but still I have over 500 Pi. And said, well, I'm just donating all of that to reparations. And yet people are like, well, it's not worth anything in the United States. It's not worth anything in the United States. There you go. I don't have to stay here. But even if this is what's the beauty of digital currency, you're not a slave to the land. Since they never gave us any anyway, then we're not a slave to a land. One thing that homeless people can be is a little bit gypsy, and so can our money. All right. Um, it builds us to trust and it teaches us digital literacy. Black people might need to learn some financial literacy, and that's why I'm teaching now. You get those 12 words, put them on paper, spell them correctly, write them in the correct order, because all of that is important. Remember how you typed it in or write how it was written, and you write it in exactly, and that's how you recover your wallet. You put it on paper, put it in a drawer, store it in a safe place, tell the children that's where it'll be if they need $5 worth of Ethereum. But if I called you up and said I need your private key, hang up. It's a scam. That's learning digital literacy. All right. And when you learn how to trust yourself, then you can stop having your intelligence insulted by people who are like, no use teaching this to black folks because they're not going to understand it. Yes, we will. We're not as stupid as you think. It's not like you're teaching monkeys, you're teaching people. Goodness. You make us do all kinds of things and then insult our intelligence. So it's accessible for beginners and elders. And I wanted that to be easy enough for everybody to understand. So important, this would be an educational pilot and not an investment or financial product. And the goal is to prepare the community for confidently having future reparations distributed through blockchain. We can do that. And we can do that during this 10 years of the International Decade for Reparations. We can do this now. And that's what we're waiting on sharing with the African Union. So the ledger is open. Reparations equals repair, not revenge. Blockchain is a tool, not an ideology. And the future belongs to those who build it, not those who are waiting for somebody else to give them something without any kind of leverage. Come on, people. It hasn't worked. Why will it work now? So for more information, look at reparationsworld.com, and that's where and now we're going to the next presentation where I'm going to tell you real quick how you do this. How you do this. And I might not even put that on a slide. I might can just tell you how to do this by putting it in the chat. So if anybody has any questions, I can stop sharing my screen. Questions? Anybody? Because I'll stop sharing my screen and put the rest in the chat. Because we can do this together. All right. Some of y'all are on your phone, so you won't be able to do it right now. Because if your phone won't let you do it, then I understand. But here's what I want you to look at. MetaMask.io. I put it in the chat. If you go to MetaMask.io, then there is let's see, I think that is where I need to show y'all. Let me show you. I don't have to just tell you, I'll show you. Share. Let me go here. Oops, I meant to share the other thing. Share. Forgive me, y'all. I'm trying to do this fast. Screen. I'm going here. That's showing you where the safe is. So the safe wallet, let's go from that because that's not ready yet. Let me show you metamask.io. All right. You would go to this if you're on a computer. If you are on your phone, you would go to your Google Play Store, or you would go to the Apple Store. All right. So on MetaMask, you'll see how you can get started. Go here. Still waiting for it to load. This is the little MetaMask Fox. This is my favorite wallet. Coinbase offers a wallet too. Both of them, you're going to need to verify your identity. And I don't know, for Coinbase, their computer program just kept me going in circles to verify my identity, while MetaMask seemed to recognize my driver's license a little bit faster. It might be different with your driver's license. Who knows? Maybe Pennsylvania be looking different. I don't know. But yeah, I just use MetaMask. Relaunch MetaMask if it's having problems. Okay. Close. Let me go here. Come on, MetaMask. Don't embarrass me. All right. All right. You'll see. All right. MetaMask on your computer will create a Google Chrome extension. So I wanted you to see that Google Chrome extension. And that becomes a different wallet than the wallet that's on your cell phone. Just wanted to give you that heads up about MetaMask. Coinbase will consolidate all your wallets across various devices, but MetaMask does not. So just keep that in mind. Wherever you open it, that's where that wallet will be, on your computer or on your phone, but they're not consolidated. Those are two different wallets. All right. You go here, you can get started. Let's see if MetaMask will load up this time. It makes you download a Google Chrome extension. So hopefully Google Chrome is one of your default browsers. For whatever reason, it's taking its sweet time. Anyway, but this is where you would go. You would verify your identity with a driver's license, state ID, or passport. Once that's accepted, they will give you those 12 private keywords, and they will give you a public address. I wanted to give you an idea of what a public address is, but apparently that's taking its sweet time. Let's see if I go here. Open up my MetaMask so you can see it. You get to choose a password that is not necessarily the 12 letters. So remember your passwords. I don't recommend saving them on the computer. Remember them, write them down, and put that password, even if you have to, in the drawer, safe place. So now you see I have $12.92 worth of Ethereum in this particular wallet that you're looking at. So that's account one, and I have more than one account, because you'll have a different wallet for various types of cryptocurrency. And you don't have to have a whole lot of cryptocurrency, but you have to prove your identity for any amount you have. That's at least the law in the United States. All right, so everyone see that? Any questions on that? And let me show you a digital address. Okay, that's Ethereum. Digital address. So here are the digital addresses. So the Ethereum is going to start with a 0x. The Bitcoin starts with a BC. Solana, and I'm not like Nate Talbot. I'm not a millionaire, as you can see. I am not a Bitcoin millionaire. But you could start with a small amount of digital currency. And the Ethereum is what we're using in this particular wallet for the Global Reparations DAO Treasury Council. All right. So you can see you can buy small amounts of Ethereum or ETH for less than $10. To gas prices, and this is not the same as gas prices when we're talking about gasoline and oil and that kind of gas. What we're talking about is Ethereum gas prices to be able to do smart contract and conduct that kind of transaction. You usually are pressing something. You're voting by spending that gas money, and the gas money is probably 30 cents, if you will. But the lowest amount of ETH you can buy is $5. You can't just buy 30 cents worth of ETH. So that's why you go through this process. And to save you from even spending your $5 for certain people, I said, look, just give me your public address and I'll send you some of my ETH. Because I know it's only going to cost like 30 cents. So I have $12.92. I can send you some of my ETH. And you'll see that you're using fractions of Ethereum. Ethereum, I don't know, as of Friday, I think it was down quite a bit, but Ethereum is averaging, like Thursday, it was around $2,000 for one ETH. It's going to go up and down. With war, people might retreat to cryptocurrency more, just like they might retreat to gold, silver, and precious metals. That's what people do during times of economic uncertainty. And peacetime is when you might find the American dollar has more power. So going to war might make the rich richer, but it causes inflation and wreaks uncertainty, fear, and havoc for everybody else. And if you need me to send you some ETH, I'll send you some ETH. But this is a way where you could sign the smart contract and be part of the Global Reparations DAO. And then we're cooking with grease. So this is how you start the wallet. But for those who might want Coinbase, because they want it to be available on all of their devices and not just one, let me show you Coinbase real quick. Let's see. So you see how you can go to Coinbase online, but you can also download the app that and put it on your phone, whether you have a Google, Android, or even an iPhone. So it's available. And this showing you what it's like when you have various cryptocurrencies, like Coinbase will educate you even more about cryptocurrency and give you a little bit of Bitcoin as your incentive for learning about Bitcoin. So this shows you how you have money where you could put it on the stock market if you wanted to, but this would be your account on Coinbase. Not rich, but you don't have to be. You don't have to be, because now you're going to have cryptocurrency, not for just investment purposes, but now for blockchain governance purposes. That's important because we can now be self-governing. It's going to cost a little bit, 30 cents. I think some people can even afford 30 cents. We're still, at this point, we can still afford 30 cents in US dollars. At least I can. Now, those people who are beyond that, then we have a different discussion on how we're going to heal them. But if at the moment 30 cents shouldn't be a hardship. As you see, cryptocurrency is going down because the market went down a lot. This will make you watch the stock market every day. But Bitcoin was selling at $100,000, so it's down now to 66. But trust and believe, it's only down to 66 from 100,000. But Ethereum was at 2,000, and it's now down, but it's down to 1,900. That's what I mean by it's relative. A stock market that dropped 500 points, what is that percentage? Almost 2% when this is less than 1%. All of that math from fifth grade starting to make sense now when it's your money. So try and remember that stuff, folk. And the other thing about digital currency, unlike the stock market when it closes at 4 o'clock Eastern, you can buy Bitcoin and that price is fluctuating 24/7. So it can be getting worse, it can be getting better. But you want to buy low, like while it's low, buy low and then sell high, just like stocks. It's not speculation. It is now looking at what the future is and then creating your future in that future instead of just waiting and seeing. All right. Anybody with questions on that? Everybody good? All right. So here's what it is. Empress, if you're still there, did I lose everybody?
I'm still here.
All right. Is it still sharing my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good, good. All right. All right, good. So if everybody is understanding, then all I need the class to do is go ahead, download either Coinbase or MetaMask, and whichever one you like best. Um, if you like the way this is laid out, this is Coinbase. If you like the extension, because I like the extension, so I like MetaMask a little better. But I do things mostly on my computer. But whatever works for you, do you. And then when you finish creating your digital wallet, you don't have to spend your money. Just I like to say email it to me because it's safe to put the public address that starts with a 0x. Let me show you a public address. It's
Sister
safe
Nita,
to share that to me. Just go ahead and send that to me in an email, and then I will send you back to that public address some Ethereum, and where you go and digitally sign your that you are joining the Global Reparations DAO Treasury Council. I'll send you all of that back in the email, and then you'll be able to sign that, and we'll start that tonight. The beauty of doing that today is that we will be in place for Pi Day. I don't want to tell all of my secrets, but I want this Global Reparations DAO Treasury Council to be up and running for Pi Day, which is next Saturday. So this
Sister
Saturday, or
Nita,
this coming up.
Sister Nita, I am still here. I'm on my phone, so I can't see anything. But
Okay.
I'll definitely review the video.
Okay, good, good. All right then. Well, I wanted to make sure because I know it's after 5 o'clock. I promised to only keep people 2 hours, and me and Dorothy been doing this since 3. So thank you, Dorothy, for hanging out like that. We soldiers, ain't we? But yes, I want to run to the restroom now, so I'm going to let y'all go. But I wanted to make sure you understood how to do this, and then do it today. Take the time out and do it today, and then send me. Let me stop sharing the screen, and I'll show you where to send it. Put it to the info@reparationsworld.com, that email address. Let me go back here. I'm trying to stop sharing the screen. Okay, Zoom. Come on, Zoom. Okay, stop share. That uses up so much energy on my poor old computer. But if you send the email with your public address that starts with a 0x to info@reparationsworld.com, unveilingwithbelle.com. Send that today, and then I can go ahead and send those things back to you. What you will be receiving back. First, you'll see that your wallet has some ETH in it, because I'll send you some of my ETH. That way, when you sign this smart contract, you're not even spending your 30 cents. It'll be mine. But I'll send you that, and then I'll send you where you go for the signing of that contract, because that is its own website. And send that back to me, and then we'll be cooking with grease, and we'll have this ready for this week. And all of those other people that I am contacting, granted, some of them are in the continent, but those other people that I'm contacting, they may join later, but we would have started. All we need are three, and three people on earth can start this. And so we will be the three. All right. All right. And why won't we have more? Because like I said, it was an interesting question. Where is everybody else? Why won't we have more? We will have more. But sometimes the first three, the first brave, that's historic. And so let's make history. It felt like it was going to be women making women's history, Black women making women's history and Black history this month, and it still might be. It still might be. Cause yeah, Lumumba, don't be discouraged. Be one of the guys in here and do this. We'll make sure you're not alone. Okay. We'll make sure you're not alone. All right. Anybody else got any questions or comments, suggestions, and or is there any other business that you want to take care of today? And let's handle that real quick, but we are way beyond time. But anybody else would like to say anything else? I believe, is Lamar Lemon still on? Did you want to say anything?
Oh, this brother Lamoon, but excellent work, excellent presentation. We definitely got to do it again and bring it on our podcast as well to continue that presentation. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, and the, Lamar Lemons is from the UNIA, and like he said, they were going to be meeting later on this evening. So he is over the Detroit chapter. I believe that's chapter 407 of the UNIA. Did you want to say anything today? Are you on mute? Okay, well, he might be on mute. But all right, everybody. Well, if all minds are clear, all hearts are clean, then what we do in Cobra is we end with doing the seven Harambes. And I like to try and stand up. All right, I got to step back from the camera for you to see me. So Harambe means let's all pull together in Kiswahili. We pull from the air, bring it down to our heart. We're pulling from the sky, from the heavens, and bringing it down to earth. We're pulling from the future and from the beginning and from the past and bringing it here to our present. And we do that 7 times, hold the 7th time. And when we all pull together, nothing is impossible that we imagine. So 7 times and hold the 7th on Harambe. 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 All right, yeah. I'm not quite like Bill Withers on Lovely Day, but I'm trying to hold it like he did that note. All right, y'all. We had fun. You have homework. Send me your homework assignment, and I'm going to send you some ETH today. All right, y'all. All right.
All right.
God bless you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. All right, y'all. And let's end it for now, but we're not finished. We got homework to do. Let's do our assignments on time. We got pie coming up this weekend. All right, y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.